Okay, so welcome everybody. So today we will learn about Adobe Photoshop Lightroom. Adobe Lightroom, it's uh, uh, from brand standpoint, it's Adobe Photoshop Lightroom, but generally called as Lightroom. So let me first introduce, in the sense, what this software is and why it's so popular in photography community, and not only photography community. Anybody who is doing photography in a serious way, this is a fantastic software. So let me searching Google Meet, which does yeah. But I think in terms of relaying and sharing screen and all that, I have faced some challenges with Google Meet. That's why probably using Zoom for now. But let's see. Okay, so what exactly is Adobe Lightroom? So if we go back to the analog era and recall how photographs were being made, so you would take a film, you will load that into camera, you take out that film, process that in a dark room, and then produce positives out of them, which means you take out what you have captured on the negative on a paper, and then you get to see what actually you clicked, right? But in digital era, the whole workflow has changed completely. But uh, the processing, if you look at the basic steps, they remain the same, but in digital form. And that's why this name is adopted that way. It's, instead of darkroom, it's Lightroom, which is basically helping you to deal with digital pixels in terms of looking at them, previewing them, editing them, and doing other things that you typically do with a photograph. So that's how the name comes. Uh, why it became so popular while Photoshop was already there, right? Photoshop is a approximately 30-year-old software, but still Lightroom was introduced by same company, and now it's very popular in the community. So one fundamental difference is that Photoshop was a software for creative professionals, including photographers, which means this was not specifically designed for photography community. You can edit your photographs there, but it doesn't completely support a photographer's workflow. We'll talk about that. What does that mean? What is photographer's workflow, right? So Lightroom was designed by keeping that in mind. And when I say a photographer's workflow, the workflow is you go out with a camera, you shoot something, you come back, you download all the files, you delete the unwanted photographs, maybe blurry or not clear or not very well composed. You'll delete them. You'll choose a specific set of photographs. You would edit them, and with reference to this group, I would say you will edit them, you will export them for your blog, and then you will post them. That's the end-to-end workflow from shooting till using on your website or on your blog. If you think about all that, only one step can be taken care in Photoshop, which is editing. But Lightroom gives you all the capabilities, from importing, managing in your catalog, which we'll learn in first session, how it helps. Today, you may have thousands of images, but if you think of finding one from, say, your trip in 2014, it's very hard if you try to do that through folders. And if any of you shoot in RAW, that becomes even more challenging because those are very heavy files. On some computers, you may not even see previews without a software. So there are different multi-layered challenges you may face. Okay, so that's a broader context. I hope that will be helpful. Let me share my screen, and we'll start. Hope everybody is able to see my screen right now. Okay, so if you launch your Lightroom, this is how it would look on your screen. And there are two sidebars, one on the left, one on the right. There is something on the bottom. We'll soon get to know what exactly is this and how is it used. But let's start with basic thing, in the sense it's empty right now, but let's start with bringing in some photographs from the hard drive. So I'll click import here. So if you see on left hand side, there is an import button. I'll click on this one. I'll go to a particular folder maybe, and I'll choose a particular folder, say Instagram. That's just an example. So you can choose any folder you want to import into Lightroom. And now, whatever I have selected on the left-hand side, you see all those images from that folder in the middle section and all selected. Now it's your choice. You want to keep all of them selected for import, or you can say uncheck all and only import this and this. So it's your choice. I'm doing click check all. We're not going into all the other details of this dialog. By the way, Lightroom has a lot of features and workflows. We'll pay attention to some of the basics, which will familiarize you with the software, and other things probably you can keep exploring in your own time. So I have selected all these images and I will say import. One thing which I think you should pay attention to, the add on the top is highlighted out of these 4 options. And that's how it should be if you are importing images from your local hard drive. So make sure that add is selected. If something else is selected, just ask that question in the chat box and we'll take that later on. And then import. Typically, progress is shown here. If you see my mouse cursor, import file at their current location, you see this progress bar, which means these images are being imported into Lightroom. One important thing which I would want to highlight here is that so import means that you are just bringing in previews of your photographs into Lightroom, and your files remain in that folder only. So don't think like you have duplicated the files and now you can delete your files from hard drive. Never ever do that. It is one of the common confusion amongst Lightroom users in the beginning, that if I have inputted my photographs into Lightroom, I can delete them on hard drive. But no, that's not the case. You're just seeing previews here. It's not duplicating your files. Okay. So basically, this is how you basically import files into the catalog. You keep importing as you click. And I just wanted to show you basic thing, because all of you must be seeing empty Lightroom when you installed. And now when you start importing, this is how you will start seeing images into them. I'll move to my catalog for rest of the session, I would say, because that will give much better context in a sense how I have been using it, and amount of files it can deal with at any point of time. I'm keeping a check on chat right now. I don't think there is anything, but if you have any questions, please add them to the chat. Okay. Okay. So now we will sort of understand some basics of it, in a sense, what information it is trying to show me in this catalog. And before we go into that, let's try to understand what catalog is. And so all of us have gone to libraries, and if you think about how books are located in a library, you go to actually a catalog section. You look for the catalogs belonging to that category of books you're looking for. For example, if you're going to pick a book on history, you'll go to catalog section of history. You'll pick that catalog and you will see where that book is. That catalog will tell you location of that book, which means go to room number 2, Almira 5 from the left, and then shelf XYZ. And that's how you locate the book, right? That's precisely how it happens in Lightroom. Lightroom, as I said, Lightroom doesn't have these images. Lightroom has references of these images, which means a Lightroom catalog knows from where I have imported these images. And that can be from my local hard drive, that can be your external hard drive, that can be any location, but Lightroom would know it. So that's essentially the paradigm that is used by Lightroom and called catalog. Now, let's look at each section on the left-hand side first. So navigator, basically anything in the central place, any image which is selected in the central part of the Lightroom, you will see that image in navigator. And on the top, you will see few options: fit, fill, 1:1. That is basically enabling you how you want to see this particular image in the center part. Fit means it's fitting the whole image in the center part. Fill means it's taking all the space, but of course, then you remove some of the image area from preview. And 1:1 means the actual resolution of the image. So this is basically the actual resolution, and you can go to pixel level details in your images, right? So that's what you can do when you are sort of going through it. Catalog. So catalog is essentially, as I said, it gives me information about currently opened catalog in Lightroom. And it's telling me that in this catalog, I have 110,000 images. Now, which means essentially whatever is on my laptop, I access that through Lightroom. And that's one of the important aspects, that if you start using Lightroom, I am sure that you'll start loving its capabilities in terms of organizing your photographs, right? What do I mean by that? As I said, if I want to search something, for example, let me try to search. I think last night I was searching Thailand images. So now I have 2,500 plus images of Thailand, which is being shown according to the search results. It's very hard to do on I would say hard drive because of multiple reasons. Here, this search is happening on file names, on metadata you add, on keywords you add. We'll talk about that aspect as well, because that's very important from SEO standpoint. If I talk about this group, because when you prepare your images, if there are right keywords in your images, you want to make them searchable on web when you post them on your blogs and websites. We'll talk about that aspect as well. So all those things, or all those keywords, are searched when you are applying a search in Lightroom. So it's giving you a simple information. Previous import. So these are two images which were imported in the last import batch. And typically, if you tried on your own and it's your first import, you'll see same number here as well as catalog. So very simple thing to understand, I would say. Okay, I'll keep moving. This will show you all the folders that you have basically on your hard drive. It will show you all the hard drives from which you have imported the images. I have from these 5 hard drives. 4 of them are not connected. 1 is connected. That's why you see this green sign here. Others are grayed out. So if you go deep, you can also click on a folder and look at images corresponding to that folder. So like whenever I'm clicking on this, you can see the change in the middle section, right? Whatever I'm selecting on the left-hand side, you see corresponding images in the middle part. So you can navigate with respect to folders within Lightroom as well. Okay, let's go to collection. So how that's another powerful. Okay, let me look at the chat. Are the pictures supposed to be in RAW format for editing? Not really. Any kind of file formatted is supported by Lightroom. Okay, I'll also check if there is anybody who is. Okay, let's keep going. So collection is basically any logical grouping you may want to do for your photographs. Now, let me try to give you an example. What does that mean? Because you already have folders and those folders have images. Now, what's the use of collections? So collections, imagine that you are going to, I'll give example related to travel because that will resonate with all of you. So you go to different places in last, say, 10 years. For example, this catalog has images from 10 years of my travel. And then my folders are created with respect to the name of the trip. For example, it may be Goa, it may be Poland, and all that, right? But I may like clicking certain kind of photographs. And for example, one example I see here is a coffee table book. For example, I decided that let me make a coffee table book for doors and windows that I clicked across the globe wherever I traveled, right? Now, essentially those files are in all the folders. I don't want to move those files from those folders to one folder, but I want to see them at one place. So I can create a collection and I can add those files into that collection, which means now I will be able to see all my windows and door images as part of that collection without disrupting them, which means I'm not moving them from any folder. Those files will remain in their respective folders, but I will have a different view within the Lightroom through which I can look at a specific set of images. Now, let me actually look at an example which, okay, let me look at okay, let me look at this people portrait. Something is there, right? So now if you look at this collection, this has images from different parts and different folders. But I don't need to worry about, and I don't need to go to one folder and then another folder and then another folder. If I have added those images to this collection, I'll be able to see them. Now, how do I add these images to this folder? So it's very, very simple. If I go to, for example, all photos and say, this is one image I may want to add to a collection. So I can simply say drag and drop, okay? So right now I'm doing a drag and drop, and it will be added to somehow it's not really working. It usually, probably my laptop is slow, but anyways, let me create a quick collection. So demo. So that's how I'm creating a collection. And then I'm saying include selected photos, which means the photos which is selected in Lightroom right now here. That will be added by default. I say create, okay. So now this demo is created. This is a collection. And if I want to add more images to demo, say from particular, I would say, let me do this. I think I should switch off my video. It's taking some, say I want to add these images to demo collection. And demo would be, by the way, all collections are alphabetically shown in Lightroom. So I will simply say drag here, okay? Now you see the demo collection is highlighted in blue. That is indicating that these are being added to this collection. I've drag drop, and now you can see all this collection. Now other beautiful part is that you can also rearrange these images in a collection, which means you may want to see these images in a particular flow. All that is possible. There can be different reasons for doing that. So I'll not go into those details right now, but that's how you can create collections, which is a very good way to segregate. By the way, one thing which helps me and I do for my blog is, for next upcoming blog, I'll create a collection, which means I'll add 10 photos to that collection. And that makes my workflow very easy. By the way, this is going to end in 10 minutes. When it ends, please join back on same link. So I add those 10 images to the collection. That makes it very easy for me to just go to that collection, start editing them, start exporting them, and then I know that this is done. Instead of going through all those 1,000 images and then choosing and editing them one by one. So there can be different reasons you may want to use collections. Okay. Any questions so far? I know I'm going a little fast. I see there is one note here. What is the minimum specification our computer needs to have run Lightroom smoothly? Typically, that should be there on that page which I had shared last night on the chat. I don't remember it, but probably I'll find it after this session, and I'll post in same thread on Facebook with the details. Wow.